Born in Iran, raised in Canada, this producer DJ, based out of Vancouver, BC, has landed bookings worldwide, including Tokyo and Thailand. Her relentless hustle in the studio with her bouncy, wobbly bass lines will energize your body. She's the whole package with a quirky, positive attitude, captivating stage presence, and has a focus on helping those in her community. Her Bass Tips podcast series touches on motivation, mental health awareness, music production, and much, much more. It is my pleasure to introduce to you today, Nostalgix. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
So can you tell us a little bit about your journey, your early introduction into the scene up until where you are today?
So I started DJing about 3 years ago, and honestly, it was really random. I just wanted to learn how to DJ and play one show. I never really had a whole idea of where I wanted to go with it. It was just to do one show, and then I was going to stop. But through that one show, I bought a mixer, and I practiced for like a few months, and I just kept practicing. I would send out my mixes to different promoters and to play some underage shows just because I wasn't legal at the time. And I got rejected a few times for sure. But eventually I got my first show, and through that I kept getting booked more and more, and the ball just kind of kept rolling, and I just kept learning. I met some people in the music industry and more DJs, because when I started out, I didn't really know anyone. It was a little stressful when I was learning just because I didn't know any other DJs, and I was just kind of teaching myself. I didn't really have any idea what I was doing. I had watched some YouTube videos, but I mostly just taught myself, and then I eventually found this EDM club at my school full of other DJs, and we'd all just hang out and mix, and that helped me a lot to actually learn how to do it properly, because I was just hoping for the best. But through that I kept getting more and more shows, and eventually I started doing club shows in my town once I was actually legal, and then I started doing more festival shows. I got to play my first festival last year actually. I got to open up the main stage at Paradiso Music Festival, which is in Seattle. Really, really amazing experience, but it just made me really driven and made me just really want it more. It made me want to get like a better time slot and do it even bigger. So it really just drove me to want to produce and be better at what I was doing, and it made everything feel like real and like I could actually like grasp it. And I think that was when everything kind of turned for me, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just going to learn how to DJ for fun. And it's like, okay, maybe I should make music and see where this all really goes, because I have been doing it for a few years now. Yeah.
I really love how you didn't let anything stop you. It's like you needed somebody there to help you, but you ended up just being that person and learning as much as you could on your own. I think that's so wonderful, because sometimes it seems like a lot of people are waiting for somebody to give them that push, and you were that person for yourself. Which brings me to your Bass Tips podcast. I'd love to know how that came to be, because it really sounds to me like you're trying to be that person that you needed when you were first starting out in the scene.
So with the whole Bass Tips podcast, I started it because I was going through a bit of a rough patch in my life earlier in the year, and I started listening to all these podcasts about motivation and self-love and positivity, and I feel like those helped me out a lot and just made me a way stronger person. And so I wanted to create a podcast that kind of did that, and I could reach out to people and help people and motivate people, talk about self-love, and kind of teach people more about that, and teach people that it's okay to not be okay as well. But I also wanted to incorporate that with music and have it tie in with everything that I'm doing in production. So in each episode, I also like to help out growing artists and help out people in the community, or just people that want their music seen more, because I know it's difficult to get your music out there as a growing artist. So in each episode, I'll talk about motivation or different topics around that. Sometimes it'll just be fun topics like talking about house music. And in each episode, I'll feature a song by a rising artist, and sometimes I'll have guest mixes, and sometimes I'll do interviews, just to kind of teach people more and get more people's music out there. And I think it's cool because if you're a listener, you also get to discover new music as well. So you'll find a cool artist that you didn't like, and you can go find their music through that.
I think it's such a wonderful thing that you're talking about mental health as well, and that it's okay not to be okay. We talk a lot in some of our previous episodes about the importance of taking care of yourself physically, making sure you drink enough water, making sure you're not drinking too much alcohol, make sure that you're feeding your body so you can like actually stay up and do these gigs, whether they're corporate or like the nightclub. And the mental health aspect, we're seeing so much of that pop up in the industry and the importance of it. So I think it's so wonderful that you're touching on this as well, and that you're acknowledging the importance of it and used an experience that you had to build this wonderful podcast. Talking to you on a personal level behind the scenes, it's clear to me that you are incredibly committed to your production game. Like, you've got some serious skills. Why do you think that you were able to progress so much more quickly in the last couple of years?
Just in life, I've always been a hard worker, and I've worked really hard for everything that I do have, and everywhere that I am today is because of that. I think a part of it comes from being born in Iran and moving to Canada and just wanting a lot out of life. But I just know that I won't get anywhere or do anything cool with my life unless I actually work for it and I do it for myself. So I've just put a lot of time into producing and DJing as well. It took like years. I've been doing it for 3 years, and I put countless hours. Like with producing, I've been doing it every day for maybe like 6-8 hours, and it's just all this time that I put into it and all this hard work, and that's why it is going pretty well and it keeps rolling. But I just want to keep teaching myself and moving forward and learning more and just putting more time into it. And I think that's the most valuable thing you could do.
I love your drive. It's incredibly inspiring, especially for somebody like myself that has been dabbling in and out of production for years and just more recently gotten more serious and spent more time in the studio producing. So I can totally appreciate where you're coming from and what you're doing with this. Your latest track charted like almost instantly. Sometimes when people are recording new DJ sets or they're making new tunes, they're stressing themselves out. They like really want this banger tune to chart like yours. Do you have any insight about how to keep those studio sessions productive and moving forward instead of getting stuck?
I think it's really just trial and error to see what works for you. I think a good idea is to like be making a lot of music, because if you're just making one track every month or two, then you're going to get stuck on that song and you're going to just run into the same problems over and over again. But if you're making a bunch of different tracks, then at least you're moving forward. You'll have different problems, and then maybe make like 4 tracks in a month, and then one of them is actually really good, and you can send that off to labels, and that way you have more options. So you're not just making one song, getting stuck on it, and then getting super let down because it doesn't go anywhere.
That's such a great point, and not like focusing on that one track. Keep making music.
Yeah.
I love it. Moving on to the DJ side of things, you've landed international gigs, DJ's dream of. How did those come to be, and what advice do you have out there for people that are looking to get those out-of-town bookings outside of like even their own country?
A lot of the shows that I did get internationally have been just from shows that I've done in town and people I've met through that, and people that have wanted to book me outside, and I've been getting contacted a lot to do those. But I think a way to get that is just put yourself out there and talk to more people, talk to a lot of people that are in the industry, and don't be asking like, hey, get me this show. Just talk to people, become friends with people, and you might get booked. You can send emails to, you could hit up clubs and see if they ever need an opener. I have sent a lot of emails just asking people, and a lot of people reject you, but maybe one won't, and that's a really good start.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like the right ones didn't, and they brought you on to come play in their country, which, congratulations, that's so fantastic.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, is there any one thing you think that artists can do to really set themselves apart as a brand while also staying true to themselves?
I think the biggest thing is to just be yourself. With branding, it's like a whole big thing these days, and everyone wants to have like a unique brand and something that sticks out. But just be yourself and find what you love and be posting about that, and people are gonna like you for what you're doing, and then that kind of creates the whole brand. Because if you are doing something that you don't like, people are gonna see right through that. You don't need to create like a fake image for yourself. Just do what you love and what you're happy with, and people will naturally gravitate towards that.
I really like that you said that. And you know, with making music or DJing, I think about how often we think we're going in one direction and we end up going in another. So maybe the key to figuring out that brand is like what you're doing. Just keep making music until, hey, that's my sound, or let it flow naturally, organically to wherever your brand is going from there. I wanted to ask if there was anything additional that you wanted to touch on, any upcoming projects or exciting events you want everybody to know about?
So I've started a little event company just to throw some shows and be able to book some artists to come and play in Vancouver. It's called Arcade Live, having the first one on September 9th, and then gonna see where that goes from there. But mainly just making a lot of music and trying to get the sound perfect.
I'd love to hear in the comments below if there's anything particular in this interview that really stood out to you. Let us know who you'd like to hear in the future on the interview series. And as always, don't let no one kill your vibe.